All right, welcome to another episode of the Prep Coach Podcast. We're back. All three of us are back. It's been a little bit of time because last week you weren't here, Scotty.
Yep.
You were on another potty, which we can talk about if you want to. And MG and I went to MG's gym, and we had Cole on there, which was a laugh. Like I had a bit of a laugh because of some of the things that we brought up, and some of the things that he does that were just outlandish.
He even came up with some cool analogies and things.
Yeah. It was a really good convo, actually. Yeah, we did really well. So maybe Scotty, you've been replaced.
Do you want to just mention the one thing that seemed to stand out to everybody who watched the podcast is the positioning of where Cole sat. So, from an optics perspective, we would like to apologise for putting the biggest unit in the most optimal position for the camera, making me and MT look like we'd never eaten a calorie in our life.
Yeah. And also because I was set back a little bit, so I looked even smaller against it. It was pretty funny. So someone messaged me, like, Cole looks massive.
Cole is massive. Let's not deny that Cole is a big unit.
But the way they're positioning of the camera, it definitely
I would question that the way Cole was sitting, was he also like
flexing,
pushing a bit?
And he was doing like pull downs before he started potting.
It was good. It was good.
But it was good. And then the week before, I did the episode with Kat Kavanagh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was awesome.
Which is definitely a great podcast. And then before that was probably the last time that we were on together. So it's been a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So we probably need to have a bit of a catch up. I don't think we've been on the potty since we announced Verifeye lie detection.
Yeah.
So we haven't spoken about that. And also we've done a whole bunch of workshops all together that we haven't even spoken about. So got to bring my memory back to what last workshops we did.
Yeah, I think we were just about to, Scotty and I had been to Tassie, and we were just about to go to see Sherilyn and Graydon. I reckon that was...
Oh, wow, that's right. Yeah. So was the first time you had been to GMF?
Yeah, it was awesome.
What did you think?
I loved it. Very similar to, I suppose, my gym, size, setup, even colour scheme a little bit as well.
Yeah, true.
Funnily enough, after that visit, we're painting my gym because of that. Sort of the things that we said we were going to do. But yeah, love the setup. It really is set up for like a die-hard old school bodybuilder.
Yeah,
and that's what he likes. Some of the pieces in there. When MT and I arrived, admittedly, it was already 30 degrees. I was already sweating, but it would have been rude of me not to try some of those old school pieces.
But you guys were wearing pants as well. I remember saying,
I know.
What are you doing wearing pants?
I don't know. Something that morning when I woke up was like, I don't know. I need to present professionally today because I've never been there. But
we leave Melbourne early that morning.
It
was freezing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it was cold.
But yeah, some of the pieces were epic. Did a couple of reps on each piece.
I really want you to go there, Scotty, because I know you would appreciate all that stuff. You'd absolutely love it.
I've not been out to Graydon's gym. Yeah, I'm keen to go.
Yeah, and you was obviously the first time for UMG seeing Sherilyn run a workshop, and I know you had some really great feedback afterwards.
She was awesome. We had a great day. We just bounced off each other beautifully. I was just very impressed about her ability to make people feel not just welcomed, she knows a lot of them, but encourage them to a point where they felt comfortable. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was a great workshop. She does a great job out there at GMF. Yeah.
I actually, after that workshop, I think I told you, I took some of those things that happened in that workshop and brought it to like the WA one we had the next day. And then last weekend I had the SA one, like about, like the music and the vibe and the upbeat energy. I was like, you guys did really, really well together. And obviously you being the MC as well, and you're like literally running it like a show, like, and welcome to the stage. And it was amazing. It was like the way that I pretty much sat back at that workshop, to be honest, let you guys just run it because you were doing such a great job.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. It definitely helps, giving them an experience where it's as close as possible to what they're going to feel on show day. And I feel like, for us and all the workshops we've been on lately, we were at Nuts on the weekend and Stu and I tried to create that same experience. It's like, how can we make this as close to show day as possible? Mm-hmm. So as soon as you rock up, it's like a lot of the nerves are gone.
Yeah.
Because you've experienced it in a group setting before. And funnily enough, we may have said this on a previous podcast, everyone's feedback was that they were more nervous for the posing workshop in a group than they feel like they are going to be for the show.
Yeah. And that's why you need to do workshops. You need to do it because you need to get those nerves out. Because you can definitely tell some girls, when they get up to go do their eye walk, it's like they're shaking a little bit nervous. But if you practice that in front of people, by the time you get to the show, you'll be good to go. And then the next day we went to WA,
We did.
which was awesome. We went to the World Gym there, which is pretty much brand new, Bibra Lake, which was amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was only like 5 months old, I think. And they were really, really hospitable. Amazing.
Yeah, the staff there was amazing. And then the workshop was, let's admit it, it was bigger than what we expected.
It was packed.
For the fact that it was our second ever show in Perth that we're going to have, but it's also a season A.
Yeah, and it was our third ever workshop.
Yeah, and it was packed. There was so many people there. You know, not only athletes, but then there was posing coaches there. Kat was there, and she helped a lot, which I was so grateful.
Awesome.
She was absolutely amazing. And then we had some coaches there as well, and people with family and friends and things like that. But the athletes are incredible in WA. We keep saying
they
it.
don't muck around over there.
Yeah, and it was a really, really good turnout. And again, same thing. The vibe that I had experienced the day before with you kind of brought it there. We put the music on. We made sure we did like a show experience and that kind of stuff. We had to split the group up because there was so many people. You took the quarter turn group, I took the half turn group, and then we put them through their paces. So
Awesome.
we did a bit of a, like, you know how we do a little bit of a description of what we look for in certain poses, you know, why are you posing, what shape are you trying to create, that kind of stuff too, which we got some really good feedback afterwards that they really enjoyed that component as well, which was really, really useful. Any feedback? I'm just been talking a lot.
No, I think that was the thing. I think probably just, I still get a little bit blown away / surprised sometimes when people come up to you and you have no idea who they are and they know what your name is, or they want to like say, I listen to you every week on the podcast, but just the positive feedback, I think afterwards, the amount of people that attended that workshop who just sent through, personal DMs saying, thanks so much for you guys to come over. Most people couldn't believe that we flew in all the way from Melbourne, literally to run the workshop and then leave to come back. But those sort of moments are the reasons why we do it, and equally to help grow that community, because there's so much quality over in the West.
There is.
And to have, like, there was over 40 people there at one point. So to have that many people there at that workshop, season A is going to be awesome, but it leaves me like really pumped for season C to think how many people we're going to have competing, but also just the standard, and then hopefully getting all those high quality athletes to the nationals to really throw down against the best. It's going to be good.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go back to Perth. You guys have one more workshop, right? Both of you guys are going?
We go after we have the Adelaide show on the
4th of May, we go.
And then I think we get in at like midnight, and then we're literally on a flight first thing the next morning to, at least it's a sick gym. So maybe we'll train.
And I think
those nice cold shakes as well.
That day, so we had the Adelaide show on the 3rd. The 4th, you're going to Perth, and I'm going to Sydney, for a workshop.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Workshops are done for the season.
And then we go back to Perth the next weekend for the show.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
There's a fair bit of travel going on.
Yeah.
And then the most recent weekend, you had Nats with Stu. So how did that all go?
Well, that was I think that's the biggest workshop she's had, group workshop she's had.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely the biggest NBA workshop she's had. I think it was her biggest group session.
Jesus. Okay.
It was awesome. Yeah, phenomenal. We had to split into 2 groups. Another big shout out to Amanda. She was phenomenal.
She's great.
So Amanda, who is our Bikini Pro champion, we've spoken about her before on the potty, but she's a great posing coach too. And I've done a great job with her. But as a team, it was fantastic. The vibe, it's all about the vibe at the moment.
She's also super relatable because she's just recently competed across multiple federations. So she's just been through the trenches. So for her to connect with the other girls and really know what it's like to be on stage and what all the stages are like and what the vibe's like, it doesn't surprise me that she's amazing at what she does.
Yeah, she was awesome. Yeah, really good posing coach.
And then the next day, Stewie and I went to SA, to Adelaide, which again blew me away by the amount of people, especially for the fact that we actually had 2 workshops from another federation at the same time. Don't know if it was coincidental or not, but for the fact that we were able to run a workshop that had about 20 people in it for a season A show in Adelaide, where it's a state that we're trying to grow, was absolutely amazing. And again, trying to bring the same vibe that we had at the other ones. I even told you I bought like a little speaker so I could pump some music and things like that. But yeah, that was great too. So we had some great athletes there, which I'm super excited about as well. So Adelaide was good fun. But again, that was in and out. We then also caught up with Benny really, really quick, Benny Wortley, which is always great to catch up with Benny. He's always a bit of a laugh. But
he's a good lad.
But yeah, that was amazing. So that was that. And then now this weekend, you have APS with Stu, right?
Stu's literally just sent me a message and said we've got 47 confirmed.
47?
Yeah, and there's a couple of my athletes that are coming that haven't registered. They're like, am I right to just turn up? So there's going to be over 50 people there. So I'm really glad that Beck's
Jesus.
going to be there.
Oh,
Because we were literally just
Jesus.
talking about,
Oh my God.
Stewie said he's run workshops with 50 before. Well, we're going to have that on Sunday.
Yeah, well, lucky you have Beck there.
Yeah, and her space is awesome.
Is massive.
And she's awesome as well. So that'll be good. But
Okay.
I'm very keen.
Yeah.
That's a big.
How are you going to work that
big
one out
workshop,
logistically? That's big. It's bigger than a show.
That's it.
Yeah, 50 people's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
no, it'll be good.
All the
I
best.
haven't been out to Sydney this year, so I'm keen to get out for that workshop.
You've been to APS though with me last season, right? Yeah.
I think I've
We've
been,
been together.
I've been with Stu too, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
we definitely-
I've been twice and I've been with you and with Stewie. Yeah. Beck's awesome and her space is great. So
Yeah. And
50 people will definitely fill up though.
yeah, there might be a bit of sweating going on in there with a lot of people.
Yeah, because it's upstairs too, so
Yeah.
but, I mean, that's all right.
I remember the expo, yeah.
Yeah. And then next week is our mega workshop in Queensland, right? Which is the 6th of April on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I are going.
Yeah, because MG's got a
MG's
comp.
Yeah, you've got a client's comp.
Yeah, well, we've got TMG athletes this weekend at IFBB.
And then we have, oh my God, we've got this.
yeah.
Oh, Jesus, this weekend.
Yeah, it starts this weekend. We're on.
Yeah, wow. Season does start this. So what have you got lined up? I don't have anyone this weekend. Do you have anyone this weekend? No. What have you got lined up for this weekend?
Yeah, I got IFBB Sunday.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
which is exciting. So me and Mads will be
Yeah.
heading out there. We've got Ash and Poppy on stage in bikini, which is going to be phenomenal.
Oh, amazing.
Both looking absolutely amazing. I can't wait, man. It's a nice way to kick the season off because, it allows me to, for a day, just focus purely on coaching.
Mhm.
And, before having to jump on stage, put a suit on and grab the mic.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to just get in the zone. And, the federation where, the show's going to be pretty big.
Mhm.
For the Vics at a new venue at the Melbourne Pavilion there, which I've been to many times for boxing and stuff. To see people. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to see how they're going to set it up because every time I've been to that venue, it's obviously been a ring in the middle, which is pretty easy.
Okay. I've never been.
Yeah, so interesting to see how they're going to set it up with a stage, where the backstage will then be. I think I've got an idea of how they'll do it, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. Anytime you go to a new venue, especially if you've been at a venue like Kingston for such a long period of time, everyone's used to that.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, you switch to a venue, it comes with
learning.
It comes with potential issues and there's always teething problems. Equally, it comes with the opportunity for things to get better too.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm excited for it, and having those two girls on stage who are in a position neither of them have been before gets me pretty excited too.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. How big is it in comparison to Kingston where they normally have it? Like just that open, because that open area at Kingston is massive.
Yeah, I think
It's just different.
It's just different. It's just shaped different as well. That is probably Kingston's biggest, the Kingston Arts Centre we're talking
It's one
about.
of the biggest, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably its draw card, right? It's got such a big space that you can stand to the side, you can, go up to that little mezzanine and have conversations with other athletes and coaches and still not detract from what's happening on the stage. Yeah. Whereas in a lot of other venues, that can start to get, it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting, but I feel like this will look like it's bigger from a crowd perspective. Because Kingston, even when it's full, can still look like it can take a lot more people because of how the space is situated.
Yeah.
So it'll be
that'll be interesting because IFB spectators and athletes are normally used to congregating on the side and catching up and talking a bit of crap while the show's going on. They might not have an opportunity to do that. It might be a completely different vibe. So it's going to be.
We'll see how they set it up. But it's going to be a good show.
That's awesome. Yeah, really good. So, okay, cool. I'm excited. To see how everything goes. Maybe next potty we can find out how everyone went and what your feedback was of the show.
We'll be happy to report on it.
All right, let's get stuck into some questions. Because we're talking about federations, we might as well get stuck into 2 questions that I got about our Fed and whether we're going to be doing something similar to another Fed. So a question was, will you ever do the pro qualifier cards that ICN do? The ones they give out at state shows? I don't know if they give them out at they definitely give it out to the overalls for the divisions, but I think last season maybe they give out a little bit more than just the overalls. Maybe it's for other winners as well, or maybe that was at nationals. But anyways, it's a pro qualifier card they give to a winner to allow them to then go into the pro show at nationals, right? We definitely won't be doing that at all. The reason being is because we see the pro show and the pro stage as sacred and meaningful, and to have a whole bunch of amateurs on there and a small group of pros, it's not what we want to do. We want to have majority of pros, which is what we do. Our pro show is nearly all pros, except for maybe one or two athletes that have been invited because they came second to the person that just won their pro card.
At nationals.
At nationals only. So to have the overall winner at Victoria and Adelaide and all on the pro show, plus other athletes maybe that from that one division's on the same day at nationals leading up to maybe they won the Open or whatever they did, to have all these amateurs on a pro stage just doesn't sit right with us. From a monetary perspective, it's a very smart move when you think about it, because all those people that got pro qualifier cards, they pay the pro fee to do that lineup, right? So they're paying double, triple the amount of an amateur.
Mm-hmm.
So to have all these amateurs paying double, triple the amount to stand on a pro stage.
So then how do they then win their pro card? They have to place.
They still need ICN, I've got to think how they do it. If you're on the pro stage and you're an amateur still, to get a pro card, I think they do top 3, which is like what we do.
Okay.
To get, I have to, it's hard because what they did last year wasn't consistent with what they did all their seasons, and this is kind of a new thing, and every state didn't have pro qualifier cards, some did, some didn't.
Right.
And then at their nationals or worlds, they were kind of giving them out.
I think they did them in season 8, because I know when I was in the UK, Wayne won some ICN show and he had one. And I remember he was talking to me about it, and I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And then he went to the nationals and he did the pro show anyway, but because he won the overall, he got his pro card, but then was still, if he had not have won his pro card from winning Mr. Australia, because I wasn't there. So because he got his card.
Yes. Because
I remember him saying to me, what does this mean now with my pro qualifier? I'm like, you just won the overall, so you have your pro card now, so you can do the pro show regardless, but I don't actually know what that means. So I'm guessing had he not have won it, that means that he then would have been able to go into that pro show, place in the top whatever, and then you can earn it that way. Is that right?
Yeah. It's funny you said it, because that's what happened with Maddie in season 8.
Right.
She won the overall in Vic, gave her this pro qualifier card.
Right.
And then what she did is she went into the amateur lineup, won her Open anyways to get into the pro show, but also could have used the qualifier card as well to get into the pro show.
So if you won the Open, you also got a qualifier.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. But what was hard is because in season A, not all the ICN states were doing that. I think it was only Victoria or something else. So it was funny because we were there and the other people from the other states were like, what are you doing? Like, what's this card thing you're using?
Yeah.
But now I think they rolled it out in season B, or we call season C. They rolled it out across every state.
Okay.
So they were giving them out for every overall winner in every state show. But then I think at their worlds or at their nationals, they were also giving them for every division winner. I believe something like that. It wasn't just overall winners.
Sure.
So then they had all these amateurs literally in the pro show.
Right.
On the pro stage, paying that pro fee. It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like from a money perspective, it's awesome. But from an athlete, keeping the pro stage sacred, it's not something that...
Yeah, I suppose from a crowd perspective, the crowd doesn't know. It might look like there's more pros on stage, but it doesn't have more pros on stage.
It's just so different because I remember, this is going back years ago, but you had to win, you had to win Mr. Australia to get your pro card. And then when you're on that stage, and having been on that stage before, and you've got 15 or 16 other pros that all have already earned theirs, I think there's definitely probably a bit of a different feel.
100%.
But then equally, I wouldn't have a clue what the lineups look like. Whether there's because for me, like if we were to look at it for NBA, I just think that there would be too much of a discrepancy between you would think that you could see, unless they're all elite level like athletes that deserve to be pro, you're gonna have like wow, and then it's like wow, there's a massive gap.
Well, when you think about it, the only way to get a pro card in NBA is to win your overall at a national show, right? And normally that person that won the overall has beaten all the other overall winners from every other state.
That's
so
what I mean.
to have all of them on stage to a pro show
against other people that have done the same thing to get there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like, say you've got Damo Forrest, you've got Nathan Wallace, and then you've got whoever who won
the Tassie winner or the SA winner.
And also, it's tough on them because you've got to throw down against like some heavy hitters that are obviously have done the distance. But I think if the standard is there, but yeah, I think it would be pretty hard to get that that consistency and that standardization.
Yeah,
we won't do it at NBA.
No, we won't do it at NBA. And the next one was, will ICN WA at their nationals have national judges? I'd assume so. I,
I
I'd,
have no idea.
I'd assume so. Like, I know that they did that announcement about trying to standardize the judging across every single state. So you would expect that if that is the case, they would have national judges out of nationals and have the national head judge there, which from the last time it was ever communicated to, like,
Andrew,
publicly, was
wasn't it?
Andrew from Victoria. So you would think that he would be flown over there and he'd be the national. Well, he's the national head judge, so he'd be judging the nationals as the head judge, unless they've changed it. I've got no idea, but yeah, we can't answer that question. But we can only assume
I wouldn't have a clue.
what it would be.
Don't know.
All right, let's talk about lie detection. So, new lie detection. Who should be worried? In brackets, not me. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Who do you know who sent that question or not?
Yeah, it was Earl.
Okay.
He's nothing to be worried about, that bloke. But yeah,
No.
Mr. Sardines.
Mr. Sardines. Yeah. Have you seen his brother?
No.
So he did a post, I think it was this morning, about his brother. I've seen his brother at a workshop twice.
Mm-hmm.
He looks amazing, but he's coaching his own brother, his older brother, and his older brother's competing this season.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what show is he doing?
He's doing the Vic show, the
Okay.
NBA Vic show,
So we'll see him in a few weeks.
and I believe he's doing the NBA Nationals, which is where Earl will also be competing
I'm going to try and find him.
in the pro show. I think he's undercover, mate. I don't think you're going to find him on social.
So how did you find him?
Under Earl's account.
That's
But
cool.
anyways, while he's searching that, Earl asked that question.
Okay.
Maybe you want to go through a little bit about Verifeye, lie detection, and why we went down that route, because we haven't really spoken about it since, because we haven't had a podcast together.
Yeah, okay. Well, for those that haven't, I'm sure most people that are watching this podcast or listening have probably heard about it, but we put an announcement out a little while ago. There's a really informative reel. Well, firstly, I put out the reel about why we're doing it, what the test does, and some of the nuts and bolts of it. And then we released a stage breakdown, I think, didn't we? It was an interview with MG and Steve.
Yeah, 6-part series. There's only 2
To
more
give
parts
context
to go.
in terms of, I guess, some of the things that people could try and pick holes in it. And this is something that we were looking at for quite a while. And as an athlete and as a federation owner, I think one of the things that we all wanted was to make sure that there's a standardized level playing field, and it's very, very clear that it isn't always the case. And the gold standard of natural bodybuilding testing has been urinalysis, and for me, it's just, pardon the pun, it's a piss take. Like it really is, in the sense that there's just so many gaps.
Yeah.
You're not able to catch someone from a longitudinal perspective. You could have someone who has been running a cycle for 3 or 4 years, and then they come off for 3 or 4 months and they've got clean bloods.
Sure.
And then they step on stage and there's clearly an exogenous, an enhanced effect. Sorry, pardon my words. So there's an enhanced effect, and so that obviously gives them the ability to not play on a level playing field. And so for us, we looked at different things. We looked at polys, and there's a reason why they don't use polygraphs in the court of law. And we obviously spoke to Steve about why that is. And then we came across Verifeye and lie detection, and I did a very, very robust deep dive, read all the papers on it. There is some really good scientific research, lots of peer-reviewed papers, and it's pretty good. And the thing that really stood out to us as a Fed, and that I was really big on, was just the fact that it removes human bias.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even with a polygraph, the person that is, and this is, Steve explains it really well, the person who is conducting the test can very easily influence the test, and whether they realize they're doing it or not, because as humans, if I'm doing a test on MG, whether I would want to do it and do it as strict as I can, there's a part of me that cares about him as a human, and so I don't want him to fail that test.
Sure.
And if he's a really likable person, they're really friendly, naturally, I'm going to be more inclined to that, versus this uses AI and it removes that human bias. It uses a smartphone. The other thing that we really liked was that it could be facilitated anywhere in the world. Polygraphs are super expensive if they're done right. And hair testing is obviously for me, is probably the gold standard, and if you really want to get someone, but it takes too long and it's too hard to get. And there's also, and equally, if someone has been using and they shave their whole body, it can also be a little bit challenging. It's happened. It can be a little bit challenging to try and...
There's no hair on MG.
No, there's a little bit, but
it can be a
it's not a
little
lot.
bit, challenging to get the sample. So knowing how statistically significant that it was, and that it's only going to get better. And it's like anything. If you look at AI 2 years ago versus a year ago versus now, it continues to evolve. And so this is the thing, the software continues to learn from itself. The more tests that it runs, the more accurate and the more precise it becomes. So in 2 or 3 years' time, my belief as a sports scientist is that it is going to be the gold standard, and it will be what everyone uses, because you don't have to send it in a lab. Like, you could take a urine test, and if it's not conducted by someone who is certified, so for example, I did all of our urine testing, I have a UCAD certification. If it's not transported the right way, if it's not stored in the right temperature, if every single bit of that hasn't been completed to the letter, then the test is void. And so someone could cheat and get off. And I guarantee you 95% of the time, tests are being facilitated in amateur sports or federations, unless it's being done by WADA or by UCAD over in the UK or in Europe, then the likelihood is that there's going to be a gap somewhere. So you're never going to be able to hold someone to that, but you're never going to catch someone from a long way out. Versus with this testing, the way that we've designed the questions, and there's been a lot of consideration to it, if you're using lipolytics, if you're using anabolics, even if you're using peptides, the way that we have devised the questions is that you cannot cheat, and you will be caught.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And we're really, really excited about it. From a business perspective, a few people are like, why would you do that? Because it probably is going to hurt maybe some of the people that do our shows. But as a lover of the sport, we're just cleaning house. So if you're someone, don't get me wrong, I have the utmost respect for those that play on the enhanced side. And if you want to use pharmacology or exogenous compounds, go for it. But just do so in a federation that allows you to do that within that scope of the rules. But in ours, we don't. And so for me, it just means that, maybe we will prevent someone who should have won, not missing out on that opportunity to take that first spot, because it had been taken away from someone who's tried to cheat the system.
Yep.
The other cool thing is that we're able to roll it out to existing athletes and pros. So off-season testing. So if you're an NBA pro, don't be surprised, in the next few months, even in the next few weeks, perhaps. We've got some tests that are going to be going out. If you get an email and you have a test that you can do, and the cool thing is that we'll know within half an hour if your off season is good, or potentially if it's really, really, really good. So yeah, it's very exciting. I think it's really good for the sport, and I honestly believe that as time unfolds, everyone else will probably jump on board.
You mentioned a couple of things. I want to get into some rabbit holes, but one of the things you said is we had a discussion about how this will affect us from a business perspective, because the testing is going to be so good and we're going to catch more people, it'll deter people from even doing our show and registering. So we may actually see, even though we're growing, it's hard to know whether the growth will slow down more than what it would normally would, because there'll be people like, oh shit, I can't do any NBA anymore because they're definitely going to catch me out. And we're like, but we're not about that. We're about making sure that we're transparent and that we're as fair as we possibly can. So it was a quick thought that we had. We were like, this is going to affect probably registrations, and they might not grow as much as what they normally would, but we're not about that. We're about fairness. When you first told me about it, I was skeptical. I was like, I'm gonna go and look into a phone. It's going to tell me if I'm lying, but it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more than that. The way you told it to me, the way it's structured, the way the questions are asked, the way you need to answer, the way it continues to ask questions in a different way to verify if you're lying or not. When you said about, there's no human bias involved, and it is actually based on technology that has a lot of research. And when Scotty says something's got a lot of research and it's backed, I believe what Scotty says. So, but yeah, I was skeptical. I was like, and people are going to probably be skeptical too. They're like, what, the phone is just going to tell me if I'm lying? Like, it looks at my face, it tells me if I'm lying, but it's a little bit more in depth than that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm always skeptical on things. Skeptical, can't talk. I was skeptical on that as well. And until I really did a deep dive and actually understood, okay, how does it work? And then once you can kind of compartmentalize it and really understand how it does work using the AI and obviously using the analysis, and once you understand the segment of questions, the way that they're asked, and the design behind it, because that ultimately influences whether you can get a truthful outcome or not. So the fact that we put, I don't know how many out, the amount of meetings that we had to have, and MG did an enormous amount of work with Steve behind the scenes as well. So to be able to put all of that together and know that it is so robust, but equally it's so bespoke to our sport and to our athletes, it's really, really exciting. And yeah, I think it was really important for us as well, because people always fear what they don't know.
Mhm.
And so now that we've released something that's new and that it's different, it was important to also get someone who Steve is, he's a household name. He's worked for the FBI, he's done stuff for the NSA, CIA, like he's a heavy hitter. And so for him, because one of the things that I first asked him was, well, what makes this superior and what makes a poly inferior?
Yeah.
And it was only really that once I really had a good understanding of the polys and equally understanding the questions that are being asked. If you're not asking the right questions with a poly, it's very easy to be able to deviate from it. And that's why they don't use them in a court of law. And they're using this testing to be able to.
It was literally on TV just last week. They
Yeah.
opened up an old crime case from the 90s. Steve's the host of the show, and they used this testing.
Was there really?
Yeah.
What's the show
The
called?
Hunted.
The Hunted.
But they use it within the Victorian Police to make sure if they have someone who's potentially doing the wrong thing as a means to make sure that they're playing by the rules. They use it to ensure that sex offenders, like people, things that you would never have even known are going on, to ensure that they're staying within the parameters of what their parole conditions.
One of the big things that popped up for me is like, I did a full interview with Steve, which parts of it have been released on our page. We might put the whole interview out.
It's on YouTube.
The whole interview's on YouTube. There's one part which really stood out to me because, I've seen tests done over the last 10 years, on my athletes across different federations. And I said to Steve, I'm not sure what question I asked him specifically in the interview now, but it was something like, hey, I've had a couple of my athletes tested on a polygraph over the years, and they said that it was done in this manner and it cost them this much. And he said the last person that he trained to properly deliver a polygraph with the right equipment cost him $35,000.
That's right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's like, that's what true polygraph technology is, and that's how much it costs to train someone for a decent period of time to properly conduct a poly. Anything outside that scope,
Because
it's not a real poly. It's not a real poly. So
because I've cut those clips up, right? Obviously, I know what he said. He also said the bit where you said, I've had athletes do polys and they go for about 5 to 15 minutes, and he said, I would definitely doubt the validity of any poly that's done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they normally should go for like close to an hour, right? And be done in that way. Because my first thing was, if we're doing lie detection, why don't we just do a poly like some other feds? I won't say they are, but why don't we just do that? And then when you explain that, and that they're just short polys that are by someone that's maybe trained, but the questions haven't been sat down with them to say, we're a bodybuilding fed, you need to ask these questions and worked it out.
Yeah. Like some context on that, right? Scott and I, when I first spoke to Steve and he pitched everything to me, and I was like, oh, fuck, I need Scott. I was like, this is fucking... Oh, no, you know me, right? I'm like, I'm a believer, and I can sell and I can be sold to.
Yeah.
So pitch it to me and explain it to me well enough that I'm like, yeah, I like this. But from a baseline level of like scientific research behind it, I was like, oh, I'm out of my depth, so I fucking need Scott straight away. But when he sort of pitched to us the evidence, I was like, this makes a lot of sense. And it made me instantly think about, okay, but, I've had athletes do politics. I need you to explain to me why that was inferior to what this is going to be.
Yeah.
And if you look at how long we invested to getting the question scheme right, Scott spoke about before. So basically what it is I had someone do it this morning.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, it asked me that same question 26 different ways that there's no way I could continue the lie, because for every lie you tell, you've got to now make up another lie to cover that lie. He's like, and the way that it asks you, you're just not able to sustain the lie long enough to not get caught out.
Yeah.
So the amount of detail that's gone into the questioning scheme, it took us months just to get the questioning scheme right. So if you've gone and done a test of a polygraph with anyone else, has that amount of effort been put into getting the way the setup of the questions is? Probably not. You know why? Because it fucking took so long. It was painstaking. Like,
and this is the thing. It asks questions that you will answer honestly, that you're giving a truthful answer, and what you can't hide from. And this is what I said in the reel, that you can think about different ways to potentially misconvey certain information, but your eyes don't lie. And so if you have said something that's truthful, this is the thing, the algorithm picks up on that and it understands what's not, and then it works out where the discrepancies are. And so eventually you might not. And this test, it goes for about what 15-ish
Yeah, like
minutes.
between 9 and 15, depends on
Okay.
yeah.
So not and equally, no one having done it before, you can't prepare for it, you can't
Yep.
train for it. So, and it doesn't really like you're not really going to be aware of, okay, here comes that question where I've got to fucking psych myself up. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
because it's just working its way through,
Yeah.
it's going backwards and forwards, and as you said, it's asking it in different ways.
Yeah.
And then the test's done, and then you would be left thinking like, oh fuck, like which part of it was it? But in reality, this camera is taking up to 350,000 photos over the entirety of the test. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, technology has just evolved, and that's why it's just so practical and it's so efficient, and it's going to be a game changer.
When I heard that it continues to get a database of all the tests that is ever done all over the world, and it continues to learn and get smarter and smarter and smarter and get more efficient and more accurate, I was like, this is...
So think about it. How good is AI? Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
like AI is incredible.
We're not even sitting here right now. This is all AI. No.
That's right. And how good are phone cameras are.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, in those 2 points alone, you know, I sent the test out to someone this morning. They were sitting in their work office. They clicked the link. It auto takes them to a page where the app downloads.
Yeah.
And then 5 things have to be right. And it automatically goes green as each thing's right, like camera position, lighting, data, sound. It does it all for you.
Okay.
It just lights up green. As soon as all 5 go, bang, you're on. It gives you, you know, a little short sample test of like, here's what it's going to be like.
Okay, cool.
I did this morning. Outside, the sky is blue, whatever it is.
Okay.
Then it gives you a small break, and then
you go into it.
It's just all automated. You can do it wherever you want, wherever you are,
Yeah.
as long as your internet's good and the lighting's decent.
Yeah.
And as Scotty said, like the amount of data it's collecting from a picture perspective is phenomenal. And then I get this incredible report.
You just showed us it.
Yeah, I get an
That's
incredible detailed report that shows up in less than 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
With credibility scores, the photos of you, so you can't give it to your mate who, you know, and say, hey, you answer these. No, take it.
Does the report go to the athlete as well, or just to
Just to
us first,
Just
and then
to
we
us.
can give it to the athlete? Okay, cool, interesting.
It's a full PDF within 15 minutes with so much detail and a full score on 3 different things. So,
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
The good thing is too, and because you know you doing it obviously mostly at the show is trying to gather piss at the show. People are nervous. Some of them are dehydrated. They can't, you know, go to the bathroom. This one, it's like there's an email waiting for you when you get home over the weekend in your own time on your bed, whatever you want.
better.
Chill out
Yeah.
and just do the test for us.
and the other exciting thing is, you know, probably just as a once-off for the 26th Vic show, Steve Van Appen's coming and he's going to do some of those tests.
Oh, is he going to be there?
He's off
That's
at the
awesome.
Cup. He's off at the Cup.
Can we make him look super scary?
Steve, if you listen, you got an old FBI uniform. Steve was with the Secret Service too.
Oh, was he really?
Mhm.
Shit.
So yeah, when we talk about credibility, you're talking.
Yeah, when I read his credentials, I was like, okay, this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. All right, let's leave it there. We're getting on time. Okay, cool. All right, let's go to one that was here. It was about successfully reversing and okay, here it is. What do people mean when they say a successful reverse versus I failed my reverse? What makes a good reverse versus one that's not done well?
Yeah, I'd say the quickest answer is rate of gain post show.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, how quickly you reacquire composition would be people's main analysis of what that is. There is no perfect scenarios like you need to gain at this rate. There's probably some numbers and percentages that we use as coaches that we think, or our judgment is that it's successful.
Mm-hmm.
But there isn't like an exact perfect industry standard of how quick you should gain. Again, it all depends on where you are from a level of condition post-show and how quickly you do need to regain based on where your health markers are at is number one. But I think, you know, where people consider themselves to have failed is their 7 days post-show and they look like they didn't even die.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think they fail because they weren't 100% adherent to the calories and macros every single day, doing everything like they would in prep. I wouldn't call that a failed reverse.
No,
there's obviously markers that we want them to hit on a weekly basis from a composition perspective, you know, but also too, it's not about hitting the adherence numbers. It's also about, are you sleeping better? Have you got more energy? Are you less hungry? Blah, blah, blah. So
yeah, when I came out of my show, one of the things that, you know, stood out to me was you and I had discussions about some of my biomarkers. Let's just talk about energy and sleep probably the most, because I also had an injury at the time, well before we were talking about scale done. Because at that time, that was really important because my body was pretty fucked, right?
Yeah.
So again, just using a piece of scale is not always the best way as well. It's just one part of it. And again, if you look at his level of coaching, it makes total sense why he's prioritizing my health above necessarily just the scale. It's not to say he wasn't looking at it. Of course he was looking at the scale, but he was prioritizing what was important for where I was at in that journey. So what was successful to me was maybe not what was successful to you post your show.
Yeah, 100%.
I needed to have knee surgery, so there were certain other things we needed to look at first. So don't get too caught up in what social media is telling you is successful or fail. Just worry about your journey and just do what your coach tells you to do.
Yeah. Anything on that, Scotty?
Yeah, I think as well, it's very easy to get caught up in those quantitative metrics, the numbers, if you will. But looking at some of the qualitative, things such as you said, sleep, also your libido, how you feel, perception of energy availability, and also your relationship with food. And I think a big part of it is for so long, the goalposts are here. Every day you have to execute, tick the box. And so then when you come out of it, you don't have to be a robot anymore. You can have some flexibility. It's about, and I try and gradually give the reins a little bit more. But if you do have an overfeed, and I use the example of if you scratch a wheel on your car, you don't say, fuck this, I'm going to drive my Ferrari into a brick wall.
That's good. No, that's good.
That's a good one.
That's fucking good, yes.
Write it off.
Hey, that's fucking good.
No, but
And can I just also touch on the word that you used? You called it an overfeed.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to explain it. Like,
I'm spewing because you scratched the wheel.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? So
but you're
what
right.
would happen is the next time you're giving consideration. Did I park too close? Was I not paying attention?
Yeah.
So it could be, okay, what were the things? So if someone ever has that,
I
with me, I'm
just
like,
got goosebumps. That's how quick I love it.
so if someone has that, has had that happen to them, I'm like, well, what unfolded in the lead up to that? What are some of the things that you did? What were the meals you had prior? So the next time that you're going to go out to that meal, you're going to go out with friends, rather than stress, I don't want to have this and I want to overfeed. We're going to put in more fiber. We're going to put in a little bit more fat in those meals prior so that we can try and satiate you. But at some stage, your body will just say, if you're not allowing it, this is people that take too long to get back. Your body on every level always wants to return to homeostasis.
Course, yeah.
So your physiology wants to return it every time. So if you try and stay inside out for too long, eventually your body will find a way to sabotage you and get you to where it wants
scratch
to
the
be.
rim. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's no point just saying, oh, I had a bad day. And as I said, you then go and just tank your Ferrari. You just be more mindful, and then you just turn the page and you obviously give consideration.
Let's throw some stick back at one of our listeners who's constantly throwing stick at us.
Oh.
So Matty Hatton starts his prep Friday. I reckon he's going to be the first human being to get shredded and not lose any libido. Is that a fair call?
Probably.
Yeah. So let's say Rochelle can let us know about that one. But
Also, I coach his wife.
She's in prep too, isn't she?
She's going to start prep next week.
yeah, we start this week.
Yeah. So, would you say that maybe as she gets leaner, maybe he finds her a little bit more? I don't know. Like maybe it's going to help him along the way.
We're going to talk about their relationship the whole way through their prep. Yeah. They won't mind. They're good people.
They're awesome. All right, we'll leave it there. It was good to catch up. I know we kind of only spoke about a couple of topics, but it'd been a while.
There's always next week.
There's always next potty for sure.
There is.
Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll chat to you soon.
Take care, everyone.